Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Nick DiVirgilio here from Sweetwater, hanging out with Mike and Danny from BaldMan Percussion. Really great to have you guys here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your products are super cool. I met you for the first time at this last PASIC, just in 2022. And it's a great thing to experience a new product with gear that this is a piece of wood and some chain. And the sound, the vibe you get out of your stuff is great. So first, could you tell the folks who may not know who you are, the background of BaldMan Percussion?
So Danny and I met on the road, and my band was playing, Delta Ray's my band, and his band was opening up. And I had this contraption on my drum kit, and it was a ugly piece of wood and an ugly piece of metal, but it made a cool sound.
Understatement. It was awful.
Okay.
And so what I wanted to do was get that swampy kind of crunchy sound of chains on metal with my foot. And so he saw it and was like, that sounds amazing, and it looks terrible. He said, I'm a woodworker, I can make it a little bit better. So we started collaborating and emailing back and forth, and he's a fantastic woodworker and was making some better versions of it.
Ended up building several prototypes of it, took one of them with me and played it on Stephen Colbert. So it actually malfunctioned in the middle of playing, and then Joe Saylor came running up to me. He's like, what is this thing? I've got to have it. So I immediately called Mike and I was like, we may be onto something. Like, what if we make 10, sell them, see what happens, and then go from there? And
so we made 10, and then I got an email from my favorite drummer in the world, Matt Chamberlain, saying, I want one, how do I get one? So then I called Dan, like, okay, we are onto something. We gotta make some more of these. So yeah, and then we did our first NAMM show in 2019, and we won Best in Show for the Junk Hat. And ever since then, we've just been on a mission of making crazy, fun instruments. We don't make anything that we don't play.
It's a great story, because it really is a unique thing, and it sounds great, and it really serves a really cool purpose.
Well, and actually, one fun thing about this that we did, so Mike wanted that swampy chain dropping sound, and I told him, well, what if we make the top such that you could actually hit it and get a completely new sound that doesn't actually exist in the acoustic percussion world, which is that 808 hand clap sample. Mm-hmm. So the way that we designed this, you can actually use it on a hi-hat stand or in a snare basket, and it can be considered a hi-hat or a snare.
All right. Well, can you play it for us a little bit and demo that out?
So maybe first demonstrate that Swampy Americana sound, almost like a reverse gated snare drum sound. You can even spin the bottom of it and get a longer chain drop sound.
What I find really cool about that is now you have another level of independence too. If you're going to play that kind of groove, you're playing your thing, and then you have to use your hand to spin it and keep it in time, and so it's a whole other level of playing too, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
It's a fun exercise in limb interdependence. Yeah. You can even hit it from underneath for a cool, like, kind of distorted, crunchy sound there too. Now, this is the 808 hand clap sound that Danny was talking about. When it's closed tight, it sounds just like an 808 hand clap. Check it out. So for the hip hop drummer, for the pop drummers, that sound effect is absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I did this on purpose, guys. What's going on here? It's just it's this sort of a trash can lid. Is this the same material as a trash can lid?
It may or may not
Ish?
be. It may or may not be.
It's its own proprietary
kind of proprietary
thing.
Yeah,
you can't tell any.
Yeah. We actually do have a patent on this instrument. It's the only instrument that recreates an organic 808 hand clap sound and has a reverse gated snare drum sound. That's what our patent covers.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
And it's chain. And what's this material here?
So this we call the impact piece, because one thing, since we're both full-time touring drummers, we thought, okay, what's one thing that you don't like happening? Your gear getting beat up and ruined. So we thought, okay, what if we put an indestructible piece on here so that people don't destroy the wood part? Because the key to this sound is having the wood top. So what if we put something on it that has the same sound as wood, but isn't going to allow your instrument to get completely beat up?
Gotcha.
And dozens of prototypes of not just the junk hat, but the impact piece, trying different material, like spray-on rubber. We did so many we have a pile of stupid ideas, and we both had an epiphany of like, oh, this type of composite material can totally work, and just run it through a CNC machine and install it, and it's lightweight, can work on any hi-hat stand. It just took a lot of trial and error.
And as you can tell from behind us here, there's other sizes of the Junk Hat, and you even have an 18-inch one.
Yeah, the XL is a monster. It's so much fun to play. It records incredibly well.
Wow.
Yeah, and these different sizes, we call these the Mini Mini and the Big Mini. And the Big Mini was actually a request from Thomas Pridgeon. He reached out and said, I love the Junk Hat, it's so cool, can you make one a little bit smaller? So Danny ran with it, and he was the spearhead behind driving that thing.
Well, obviously, a lot of big-time drummers know about the Junk Hat and your guys' your products. So the name is really getting out there in the world.
That's amazing. It's been the most humbling and amazing thing to communicate with our favorite drummers, the drummers that we grew up watching and just wanting to emulate, and they're playing our products now. It's mind-boggling and humbling and just the coolest thing.
Actually, my buddy was just on an international flight and he decided to watch a drum documentary, and he sent me a picture and he said, wait, is this the Junk Hat? It's Trey Cool playing the Junk. I didn't even know he had one.
Yeah.
Playing the Junk Hat in his studio in LA.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's great that that real professional working drummers are getting their hands on your product and using it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the best part, is that they're using it because it's useful, not because it's a gimmick or just we didn't give it to him or anything. It tracks really well. It's wonderful live. It makes you think outside the box, like you talked about having that spinning thing. Nobody's spinning things on a drum set and making a cool sound. So now you have that, and the rhythm that takes, your timing can improve with your left foot stomping it as it spins. Record producers like it because you can adjust the height of the chain there and hit the bottom there, and you get a different rattly sound. And when it's closed, you do that 808 hand clap sound. The nature of the instrument, the chains will move just a little bit on the inside. So if you're doing a sample of 808 hand claps, if you do 8 hits, every single one's going to have a little bit of a variation. So on the grid, you're going to see a tiny bit of variation. So even if it sounds like an electronic hand clap, there's an organic element to it because it does change just a little bit.
Very cool.
One other thing I would actually like to mention about this. So I play with a bunch of Americana acts, and a lot of that, there's so many overdubs of percussion sounds that typically if you're playing drum set, you can't or don't incorporate. Mm-hmm. It's usually tossed in tracks or you just forget about it. One thing that I've started doing with this is finding different tones that you can actually use on the Junk Hat to do those tracked percussion parts when you're actually usually taciting or resting. So I think this just kind of incorporates a lot of creativity and other options that normally you would have just sat and done nothing. Mm-hmm. So really forces to think outside the box and come up with new fun ideas.
That's great.
So my band Delta Ray, our flagship song called Bottom of the River, it's an a cappella song, and but I play chains on a trash can. So that's the percussion sound effect. And I wanted to create that kind of sound, but freeing up my hands. So that's how I kind of hi-hat cymbal, sure, metal piece, and then the chain and zip tied it. It was really gnarly looking, but it worked. And I got that reverse gated snare drum kind of sound with my foot. So that's what I had on stage when I met Danny. And then he came up and was like, that thing sounds incredible, but it looks awful. And I can make it a lot better. So that's how that sound came.
Nice. Guys, I wanted to point out one thing that I think is pretty cool.
We're both bald?
Well, you're both bald, but the likeness of each of you it's pretty uncanny. I mean, that's... Well, thank you. Guys really, I mean, you guys did a nice job to make sure that you look like this. I mean, this is cool.
Both of our fathers were cartoons. So it's in the DNA.
Yeah, it's definitely that.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, thanks. No, our buddy George Hodge is an old friend of mine from North Carolina, and he's an artist. And I was like, hey man, can you help us with some branding stuff? And he just ran with it and developed that was our first draft. And I was like, perfect, don't change a thing.
Now, were both of you bald when you first met?
Yes. And we were both wearing black jeans, black shirt, black shoes, like identical outfit. And I walked in with a snare case and a cymbal case, and I looked at Mike, and we just started laughing. Like never met before.
Yeah.
And did the name of the company kind of start right there?
Well, as we were developing the Junk Hat and realizing it had a little bit of traction, I was like, man, I think we should sell these. I agree with you. I think we should sell these things and make more of them, but we got to have a brand name. And I don't want our brand name to be the Junk Hat, because that kind of paints us into a corner. I want to make lots of percussion instruments. So I think it should be something percussion. And I was like, what if we call it Danny and Mike Percussion, D&M Percussion? And then it might have been you who said, look, they're just going to call us the Bald Guys no matter what. And so let's just lean into it. I was like, all right, how about BaldMan Percussion?
Which actually led to all of everything that we do with the company is tongue-in-cheek. It's supposed to be fun. I mean, the product is called the Junk Hat. You know, we're not trying to cure cancer. We're not trying to do something serious. Like, this is meant to be fun. It's supposed to be creative. And drums are fun and creative. Sure. So why not lean into it?
Well, fellas, I really appreciate what you've invented here. So can I take a stab at playing this piece?
Absolutely.
All right. Now I know I'm gonna not do well at this, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try at the spinning thing, right?
Nice recovery there.
Oh, thanks. No, it's really cool, and I love the fact that it's making my brain immediately work with how am I going to coordinate this and keep the time too.
Right, exactly, and it's just an option. Like you're in the studio and you're going like, we want a long sound, something that's like kind of thing. You can do that, or you want like a glitchy sound. Open it up, and then hit like right there. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you do it again,
right, like this.
Either way,
okay.
The chains move just enough.
Right.
So on the grid, it's going to be just the tiniest little bit. So there's an organic variation in there.
Right.
Yeah. And one thing that's super cool too is when you take it out, it'll fit in your snare case. So you could put it on your snare. If you're traveling, put it on your snare drum. It fits in the snare case. I have a snare bag, fits right in there. So I don't leave home without it. I don't know if you, I mean.
Every gig.
Every gig. Pop gig, cover gig. If I'm doing, with my band or with just an artist, I always have one.
Well, a beautiful instrument, guys. Thank you so much for coming to Sweetwater.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And turning on your great gear to the Sweetwater customers out there. If you want any more information about this great BaldMan product, the Junk Hat, make sure to contact your Sweetwater sales engineer and get yourself one of these pieces. You're going to have a lot of fun playing it. Take care, everybody.
And you don't have to be bald to play it.
No?
You don't?
No. Oh, good, because I was kind of getting. I've been growing out my hair for a long time.
Must be nice.
Well, yeah. So I can. Keep
I'm done here.
I don't want to talk about it.
I can keep my hair.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
You sure I can keep my hair?
I'm turned off.
Okay. All right. No. I'm just gonna play it. And you guys see you later. All right.